Welcome, everyone, to a special bonus episode of the Wrestling is Cool podcast. This is our podcast Money in the Bank predictions. This is not the episode for the week, so just keep in mind that there is just more Wrestling is Cool for you available on Patreon, available on YouTube. It's just more of us. So just keep a lookout for the full 2-hour episode that will be dropping up later this week. Sancho, Money in the Bank. I think that Money in the Bank, aside from WrestleMania and Royal Rumble, is my favorite premium live event of the year. It's got a fun gimmick, and it is a set of gimmick matches that have a lasting impact on WWE storytelling for quite a while, for up to a year. And I think that's fun.
It's a fun piece as well. I mean, you have your favorite WWE superstars running around with the briefcase. There's so many opportunities to kind of leech off of that, to have fun storylines with, and will they, won't they, when are they going to cash in? It's always a looming in the presence. And at the same time, I am so excited for my prediction who's going to hold the briefcase, because I think they kind of do need it. And it's a great it's a great catalyst for someone else to find a deeper connection to their gimmick. And I cannot wait. I love Money in the Bank because the best part about it is this Money in the Bank, there's a lot of characters that are just kind of fiending to cash it in versus like, I'll cash it in at the right time.
Correct. I do think that both the men's and the women's side of the Money in the Bank ladder matches, they have a couple of really good viable options to be good Mr./Miss Money in the Banks. I'm not saying that not everyone can benefit from it, because I'm sure anyone winning it would benefit from having the briefcase. I'm just saying that we're in a rare situation where there is a couple of men and women that could be good Mr. and Miss Money in the Banks. And I feel like that's different than just saying you could benefit from the briefcase. I feel like you could really elevate your character as a whole as a Mr./Miss Money in the Bank. And there's a few that could really, really embody that.
Do you want it as a tradition, as a kind of to change the briefcase, if like Damian did, like if Tiffy won, you wanted a pink briefcase? I kind of like that idea.
Yeah,
like personalized briefcase.
I agree. I think you should personalize the briefcase, especially if the intention is to hold it for quite a while. Yeah, why not? Make it part of your attire. I think that if it is a Tiffany Stratton, sure, make it pink. I love what Damian Sandow did all those years ago, where he made it into like a traditional like mahogany briefcase, which was so good for his character. It was so good. But yeah, Money in the Bank is a lot of fun. It's usually it's like a fringe top 4 PLE. For a long time, I would say it was a big 4. It replaced Survivor Series. It did.
Until Damian's, that run with Damian's briefcase was bad for a long time.
It wasn't even just bad, man. It was before that too. Austin Theory was bad. Yeah. Like it's gone through a rough spell.
I was gonna say it was like 99. It could be like, just look at the magic of the briefcase. 99% of it could be terrible. It's that 1%, the finish line, that's the most important part of it. It could be the most dumbest thing. It could cause matches that you could lose. Finn Balor could land on it like the Three Stooges. But when he cashed in at WrestleMania 40 and made everything worth it, man.
I agree. I still think you could, have your cake and eat it too. There's no reason why the journey can't also be really good, as well as the cash-in can be really good.
Sure.
I'd like to have both, me personally.
Okay.
But yeah. We're going to be predicting the show. We're going to go through every single match, give you some thoughts on the match, who we think should win, who we think is going to win, and anything in between. This is going to be podcast form. I do have a singular, just my opinions and my predictions on YouTube already, if you want to check those out. But Sancho, let's get this show on the road. Let's start off with the Intercontinental Championship match, Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. Is it the time? Do they do it? Do they pull the trigger on Braun Breaker? Do they have the home countryman Sami Zayn lose in front of Canadians?
He cannot keep winning in his backyard with that belt. Sami Zayn, if he is going to win, he's going to have to be super Sami Zayn, and I don't think that's going to do Braun Breaker any justice.
What do you mean it won't do any justice? Like, you feel like Braun Breaker losing here would make him lose a lot of steam?
It would, no. What I mean is, you cannot have Sami Zayn replicate the performance that he had with Chad Gable, where Chad Gable had him in 4 to 5 ankle locks and still wins that type of shenanigans. You can't have him eat 2 or 3 spears from Braun Breaker. You can barely even have him eat 1 spear. Braun Breaker is on a trajectory that is a bottle rocket, and this is where Braun Breaker has to win, to answer your question. I'm not saying that if he loses, it buries him. I think it'd just be a missed opportunity to catapult him even further up. It's like it's a launch pad for sure, but it's kind of like, have you played Only Up before?
Yes.
You know? Okay. You remember the little beds?
Yeah.
You could
bounce
this
off
would be the bed that could launch him higher up. If not, he's gonna have to take the long way up. And he'll lose a little momentum, but I just think the idea of a Super Sami Zayn, where in this case, where Superman beating Doomsday right off the rip, that would be bad.
Here's my question for you, okay? What is more important here? Is it Braun Breaker walking out as Intercontinental Champion or Braun Breaker looking amazing? What's the more important thing of the two here?
Braun already looks amazing. We know he's
but
amazing.
this is a premium live event debut for the guy that I think is going to be carrying your flag. So what's the more important thing here? Because I'm just saying you can still have him look amazing with the Intercontinental Championship, but you can have him look amazing without it as well. What is the most important thing here? Walking out with the championship or looking amazing?
Well, I think walking off the championship, but I think that the reason why looking amazing won't work is because then Sami has to withstand like 1,000 things to win. And that's not what I want.
Well, it could end up in like a disqualification. It could end up in a count out.
Ludwig, it could come up. Yeah, those shenanigans is what you're saying.
It could potentially land that way. I don't want it to be that way. I just want to expand on it beyond just being like spear win.
Allow me to pull this thread a little bit. Do you like Sami as an IC title holder?
I like him. Okay. But I like him as the right flag bearer for the right guy to beat him. And it just so happens I think we're at the right guy to beat him. I think it is Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker defeating Chad Gable, I don't think would have hit as well. I feel like Braun Breaker needs to destroy the guy that has been undestroyable in Sami Zayn, the indestructible Sammy Hogan, as some people has been calling him, where he hulked up against Gunther and beat Gunther, where he hulked up against Chad Gable and beat Chad Gable. We need a moment where that doesn't work against Braun Breaker, where Braun Breaker is just too powerful of a force that none of that, like, the heart of the underdog of the indies is going to work, where you're just going to get broken in half because it's Braun freaking Breaker.
You think that Sami Zayn goes away for a while and then maybe he calls in his friend El Generico?
Maybe, but I think that if Sami Zayn goes away, it's to join the Bloodline storyline. And I think that this could be the right way to get him out of here into what could be a SummerSlam buildup that involves every member of the Bloodline, and Sami Zayn would greatly add to that storyline. So if that is the plan, I think this is a good eject button for the Sami Zayn championship reign to go insert him somewhere else where he could be more needed and let the story of Braun Breaker finally begin. I'm taking Braun Breaker.
I like that too. I'm taking Braun. Remember, for the longest time, people wanted Braun Breaker to take the title off of Gunther.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So I think it's time. Let's do it. It would sting more and elevate Braun as a heel to do it in front of a Canadian crowd, which I'm just going to tell you right now. I know Toronto. I'm from there. We like Sami Zayn, but we don't love him because he's from Montreal. I think
it's not his real backyard.
It's not his real backyard. I think Toronto turns on Sami. I think Toronto turns on Sami as a crowd. Just gonna throw that out there as an extra side bet if you want to take it. I think Toronto turns on him. Toronto, they're fickle,
Rock
dude.
Hogan.
Toronto's fickle.
Okay.
They turned on The Rock and Hulk Hogan. Yeah, like you said. Yeah.
Okay.
You're taking Breaker. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go to the other title match. Damian Priest going in as the World Heavyweight Champion, taking on Seth freaking Rollins. I want to let you start off with this one. I want to hear your thoughts.
My thoughts is, I'm not looking at this, is Damian a better wrestler than Seth Rollins? Because the answer is no. In order for what they've been working for the longest time, this whole Liv Morgan saga and Dominic Mysterio, Liv Morgan has already infiltrated the tag team title picture. Liv Morgan's final domino in the Judgment Day. Of course, the stipulation is if Damian wins, Seth cannot challenge for the title anymore. I don't know if it's only with Damian's holding it, but he said he can't challenge for the title. And if Damian loses, he has to leave Judgment Day, right? Those are the extra gentleman accoutrements.
Yes, and it is on while Damian is champion.
Okay. So, because of that, for me to get the biggest bed jump out of this entire thing is Liv Morgan has to help Damian win the belt so that Damian says, you know what, Liv, you're one of us in Judgment Day. Because that will mean that Liv Morgan has completed the infiltration, that Liv Morgan has taken Judgment Day. Remember, Damian did tell Finn, I'm champion, and when Rhea is champion, we needed her. So Damian needs to hold the belt, and then Damian will need Liv, because without Liv, Damian's not champion. I know that kind of goes against Damian saying that he wants to prove that he's a better champion than Seth, that he doesn't need Finn Balor. So what's that going to do is they're going to not have Finn, they're not going to have JD, they're not going to have Dominic, because Damian said, don't be here, get out of my business. But Liv Morgan's going to be that person that sets up Seth Rollins for the loss, and then Damian Priest is going to owe Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan's in Judgment Day.
I think everything that you said makes sense if Gunther wasn't waiting around the corner. That's what throws a wrench into a lot of what you said, because I just do not see Damian going into SummerSlam as the World Heavyweight Champion. I don't see it.
You're forgetting the other wrench, my friend. Drew McIntyre said he doesn't matter what, if he wins, he's going to cash in. So if that makes sense, if Damian does get cashed in on by Drew McIntyre, but Liv did help Damian, that could still be enough for Damian to accept Liv. For me.
Okay, I'm going to go with Seth Rollins, mostly because I just feel like it's just too peculiar that Seth Rollins was brought back what I believe is seemingly just way too early. I
agree.
It seemed, and when he came back, I was like, oh no, Damian is going to challenge Seth Rollins right there, right now, and Seth Rollins is going to become World Heavyweight Champion. That's what I thought was going to happen. If they have Seth Rollins coming back, I do think it is to have him drop the championship to the next top big bad guy of the WWE in Gunther. I don't think that Triple H and WWE sees Damian Priest as the top big baddie for Monday Night Raw. I think it's Gunther. And the best way to cement Gunther as that is not to beat a guy that a lot of people don't see as a real champion. A lot of people still see him as a transitional champion. I think the best way to do that with Gunther is to have him beat the guy that is a main eventer, that is a Hall of Famer, the guy that made that championship in Seth Rollins.
So if Liv's not involved, and let's say Damian does beat Seth Rollins outright, that's not enough to build up Damian?
No.
Really?
No, not for what they're trying to do with Gunther. It's not the right match. It's such a weird dynamic that we would have, because are we going to then do a full-blown babyface turn for Damian Priest to actually have this be a babyface versus heel? And you could say, well, they did heel versus heel at Clash at the Castle. Not the same dynamic. That was still babyface heel, where Drew McIntyre was the babyface because of that crowd. At SummerSlam, it's an impartial crowd that would just see them both as heels. It would be awkward. You need the good guy and the bad guy for this to work.
So there's no way, let's just say Damian does walk out as champion because of Liv Morgan. You would still see Judgment Day, even though they're a fun group to watch, and by far one of the viral video storylines right now cooking in WWE. You don't think that's would make him a face? That still will make him a heel because people love Rhea Ripley.
I still think I would still see the WWE universe and WWE booking them as heels. They don't know. You could tell, man, they're confused with what to do with Damian Priest. He goes out there and he is cutting like, hey, I respect you. You really are the best. And I'm better than you. I'm a bad guy. It's like, dude, I'm confused. You're going out there glazing up your opponent, but then you're part of a heel faction. It's a really weird dynamic that they have there. And I think that they're already setting up the seeds for Judgment Day Civil War, per se, and Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. And I think that's good enough for a SummerSlam match. Doesn't need a title, in my opinion. I think that Seth Rollins is walking out as the champion to walk into SummerSlam to make the biggest match possible. And I don't think the biggest match possible, respectfully, is Damian Priest Gunther. The biggest match possible is Gunther Seth Rollins.
Do you believe, before we leave this segment, if Seth Rollins was not injured or not 100%, he was definitely injured at WrestleMania 40, that they don't put the belt on Damian and they let Seth Rollins walk out champion of Mania? Because again, they did it to set up Drew and CM Punk, but he screwed him over so many times. But why? My question is, why have Damian as his transitional champion and him deny that and have him not be booked that way? Because you could have easily had Drew win at Clash. I know that they're creating ammunition for CM Punk and Drew, but why go through all that for Damian? Because at the end of the day, if he does lose, he's just going to wash himself out as any chance of being a main eventer. There's no way he can recover as a main eventer if he loses to Seth Rollins.
We'll see. I think the jury's still out on whether or not he could recover. In terms of why they pulled the trigger on him, because they put the briefcase on him. I feel like that's like literally the only reason. And you couldn't have him fail again because the legitimacy of the briefcase would just continue to go down the gutter.
The legitimacy of the briefcase.
The legitimacy of the briefcase. It matters, Sancho. It matters. I just think that with the WWE building up and hyping up not just this coming SummerSlam, but SummerSlam moving forward to be a show on par with WrestleMania, I think you need to make the biggest matches possible. And it's not Damian Gunther. It's Gunther, Seth Rollins. I'm going to take Seth Rollins.
All right. I got Damian with the help of Liv.
All right. Let's roll over to Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens taking on the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, and or Jacob Fatu. That is how it's being listed on Wikipedia. And or Jacob Fatu. My question for this is this the WWE hoping that they could sneak Jacob Fatu through the border and that Canadian Customs will be like, yeah, we'll let this guy with priors through? I don't think so. Canada is really, really strict, especially if it's anything with violence. If it's anything with violence, you could sneak in if it's a DUI, something like that, non-violent crimes, but anything with violence, the Canadian government's really, really strict at preventing people from getting in. I don't think Jacob Fatu gets in, is what I'm saying. If he does get in, does it become a 4v4? If it does become a 4v4, who's the fourth for Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Kevin Owens? Or does this just stay a 3v3?
I'm gonna go ahead. You're like holding it in. I want you to share. Who do you, if you think it goes down that route, who's going to be the fourth for RK Cody?
If it's a fourth, it's Brock Lesnar. This is where you bring back Brock. You try to bring him back with as much good grace as possible after everything that happened with the Vince McMahon probe. And I like the idea that Sancho, that you provided, that at some point in the match Brock Lesnar would be dominating, but then someone in the rafters, another member of the Bloodline, Hikuleo, is threatening Paul Heyman to throw him over the edge or something.
Jesus.
Just murder him, and then Brock Lesnar leaves the match. That could be how they go about a 4v4, and then it turns into a 3v3 because Brock Lesnar left to try and help Paul Heyman. Something like that. I don't know. I still think it's just going to be a 3v3. I think that's the most likely outcome. Occam's razor, the most likely scenario is for the simplest one, and I think it's just the simplest one, 3v3.
I know, but no diss to Tongaloa. It's not the same.
I know.
He won't. It's the same. It's a downgrade. I mean, here's what I think is going to happen. Here's my prediction. I don't think the Bloodline wins this. And it's not because they don't get pinned. It's a DQ. I think this is going to be another Bloodline trap that they're setting up for the top faces of SmackDown to walk into this Money in the Bank, and they're just going to destroy them. They're not interested in winning. They're not interested in getting a W on that record. They're interested in sending a message, and they're interested to send a message to WWE that now that Paul Heyman is gone, they're unregulated, they're unfiltered, and they're going to decimate and they're going to destroy either Cody, Randy, or Kevin. I think one of them is going to go away for a long time. I don't think it's going to be Cody, but they're going to send a message. Remember, the entire promos leading up to this is saying we are getting the boys in check. We got Cody in check, Randy in check, Kevin Owens in check. But that doesn't mean the game is over. The game is over when someone is in checkmate. So this is what this is. This is the checkmate. Get them into a one-match scenario, and then that's where Jacob Fatu. They're going to probably build it the thing. They're going to lean into that, what you mentioned. We couldn't bring Jacob. He is stuck on the border, customs, whatever. He's there. He's not allowed in the country because he's that bad of a man, right? Then guess who's going to come in and just cause havoc? It's Jacob Fatu. He's going to come out and he's going to say, I have diplomatic immunity. I don't know. There's going to be madness everywhere. And I think at the end of the day, Jacob Fatu is going to be the true Samoan werewolf. Like, this is another opportunity to show it, because already they've done, every time Jacob Fatu appears, he's ruthless and he is taking out people with aggression. Like I did.
I think we're in the same mindset, but I don't know that this goes into a disqualification. I think that this is a situation that the Bloodline must win.
Who pins?
Solo pins.
Cody?
Oh man, if you really want to go that deep, like if you want to cement Solo Sikoa, it's pin Cody. I don't think the WWE's got the balls to let Cody get pinned. I don't think so. I think it would be pinning Kevin Owens. I feel like that's the easy, safe choice. Okay, all right. With a few thumbs, just thumbing them. I think the Bloodline wins. I think they need to win convincingly. I think that this needs to be utter annihilation of the baby faces at some point or another. It could go the way that you said, where it doesn't even devolve into a match. It's just chaos right off the get-go.
Like a backlash.
Yeah, I suggested in my predictions that we need this to turn into a no disqualification match. Like, if we really want this to be what we want it to be, what it should be, which is just a violent affair. We already saw hints of it at the beginning of the last episode of SmackDown, where they were brawling all over the arena, and Kevin Owens is doing swantons from the top to the through a table. Like, that's what we need for this match.
How about this? They do get DQ'd, and then Cody goes, "That's not how it's going to end. I want no DQ." And then they have a restart the match. Maybe. I love when a face does that. That's one of my favorite ways.
Okay, I'm gonna go Bloodline. What about you?
I'm gonna say DQ RK Cody.
Okay. Let's go to the Money in the Bank ladder matches. Let's start off with the women's match. We have Io Sky, Chelsea Green, Lyra Valkyria, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and Zoe Stark. Sancho?
First off, Dakota Kai, man. Come on,
Should've
dude.
been her.
It's right there, dude. I love Zoe Stark in the sense that I love her missile dropkick. It's a sight to be seen. She does add a little bit of strength to the ladder match, because when you think about a ladder match for Money in the Bank, when it gets to this point, you got to have a mix. It's like a recipe, man. You got to have the high flyer, you got to have the strong man, you got to have all these kind of things to get a very, very solid Money in the Bank ladder match. So I was hoping Dakota Kai could be that, because she has a lot of flair and her moveset's really wicked. And I think she has the ability to sell and make everyone look stronger, and she could take a nasty bump. Zoe Stark is more the strong type. I don't know. I just feel like it's a missed opportunity, and I feel bad because I don't know how I'm buying into what Dakota Kai is doing. Maybe she's suckering me in, but when she was on her Twitch stream saying that she wants a singles push and she was crying and then she didn't get it, and then after that lost on SmackDown and she's upset and then she gets jumped at the end, there's something there with Dakota Kai, and I'm hoping they have it. So that's my little pin on that.
I think what we're seeing is the kindling. I think it's gonna lead to something big for Dakota Kai soon.
And what a cool way to do it, by starting that little spark on a Twitch stream.
On a Twitch stream. I love that. I love that.
A little bit. The winner of this will be Chelsea Green, because heel always does well, but Chelsea Green would be a fun heel, and she could have so many failed attempts to cash in, and not necessarily like actually ringing the bell, cashing, but doing the briefcase, yelling at the ref type of moment. That moment will do so well, and I think she's the one to take it, because I think her character needs it, and I think she needs it because she's worked so hard to get to this point, and I think the Money in the Bank briefcase will solidify her as a chance to be a future champion, and would give her that path to being a champion in a more believable way in her character sense.
I think that if I was an owner of a casino, I would make the 3 betting favorites: Chelsea Green, Lyra Valkyria, Tiffany Stratton.
Lyra,
yeah, like in terms of how they're booking her and treating her.
I like Lyra, but no,
what's that?
No, Lyra.
All right, fine. Chelsea Green and Tiffany Stratton, I think, are the 1-2. Listen, like, it's okay.
Make your case for Lyra. Make your case for Lyra.
I don't want to. Tiffany Stratton and Chelsea Green are the 2 favorites, far and away. The thing is that Tiffany Stratton is so young and could win next year's, could win the one after that. Like, Tiffany Stratton is a made woman already in her 20s. She is good. She's going to have a great career ahead of her. Yeah. She doesn't need this briefcase right now to be a main eventer. She's going to be.
Yeah, she's like
Chelsea Green, there's a window, and it just opened, and it's right now. It is at this moment. If you have any interest in Chelsea Green being a main event player, it is right now. And we already picked Sami Zayn to lose. I don't think they have two Canadians lose back-to-back on the same show. I think Chelsea Green wins.
They had two Scottish people
but they had
lose.
one of them win. Is what I'm saying. At least like they had one win.
You just said Toronto doesn't claim Sammy as their own, so who cares?
They would claim, yeah, but Toronto and Montreal, it is a thing. It's New York, Boston. It's a New York, Boston thing. But Chelsea Green is from out west. That's not even a real place, so we're like, okay, sure, Canadian, that counts. Okay. I think that the crowd is going to be so behind Chelsea Green, but the window of opportunity to elevate Chelsea Green is right now. And if you don't do it, then I just don't think that there's any interest from the WWE's part to do it, to make her a main eventer. Yes.
Hi. Yes, Sancho West Wrestling is cool. I noticed before I was going to make a bet, you had Lyra there, and then you took her away. Is it just, you just think like, hey, she's a face, they're going to give her that hope spot type of opportunity where she climbs up and like,
I think
Lyra's
so.
so close.
It's just like when I look at the rest of the field, right? Io Sky's already won it. Naomi is a veteran that doesn't need a Money in the Bank briefcase as an excuse to be put into a main event program. They could just put her in there and insert her. And I don't think that,
did. Remember?
I know exactly.
Bailey
which is a great example that I'm right. Like they could do it. They could just do it.
Bailey was like, I want to give you a title shot.
Sure.
Why not?
Sure. And Zoe Stark, I don't think is ready. I just don't think that she's it right now, and she already got a crack at being getting a world championship opportunity last year with Rhea Ripley. Chelsea Green, Lyra Valkyria, Tiffany Stratton are the ones that you could do something new with the briefcase with.
I like that.
But I think Chelsea Green is the right choice. We're in agreement here. Chelsea Green is winning.
Agreed.
Huzzah!
Are you DX shopping me?
The men's Money in the Bank ladder match. We have Jey Uso, Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, Chad Gable, LA Knight, and Drew McIntyre. Let me give some thoughts here. This is a weird match because Drew McIntyre could get interfered by CM Punk. LA Knight could get interfered by Logan Paul. Chad Gable could get interfered by the Wyatt Six. Jey Uso could get interfered by also potentially the Wyatt Six or members of the Bloodline. The only two that don't have this like third party that could be looming over them is Carmelo Hayes and Andrade. Does that do anything for you in terms of who you think could win this?
No, it's just because, like I mentioned, the recipe of a Money in the Bank, you need those guys. You need an Andrade. You need a Carmelo. You need some people who could take those crazy bumps, and those two are perfect candidates for those bumps. You need a Ricochet spot, and Ricochet is gone. So I think Carmelo fills the spot. I think Andrade is going to have a powerhouse lucha moveset. But in terms of the storyline of who's going to, out of those two, the briefcase, I could see Carmelo doing it. I think it's way too early in his career to walk around with the briefcase. It wouldn't have the same weight to it as a Tiffany Stratton in terms of where they are in their careers. I think Tiffany would have a better chance of winning than Carmelo. Andrade, I think he is in his gestational period where he's just getting there. He's just marinating. He's not quite yet.
Zelina.
He needs, I like the idea of Zelina. We talked about it in the Wrestling School podcast last week. I like that. But when you talk about all these outside interferences, would it be wild? I just had this thought. Chill for a second. Would it be wild if the Wyatt Six had control of the Money in the Bank briefcase?
It would be. I don't know how we do that.
I don't know how we do that.
Sure. I think that we see the Wyatt Six in this match.
You have to.
Yeah. I already put my predictions out. I picked Jey Uso to win. But after I published the video, I thought that the Wyatt Six and them interrupting Chad Gable, but not attacking him, if you've noticed. They've just kind of been letting him run away.
Yeah.
And then Chad Gable saying like, hey, did you hear what Uncle Howdy said? They're coming after me. I think that now it's a bait and switch. I think that the Wyatt Six could interfere in this match, and they're about to interfere on Chad Gable, and they interfere on Jey Uso instead. I don't think that that's out of the realm of possibility. I did pick Jey Uso because I think that when I look at some of the other favorites here. You know, I look at LA Knight. He's got a program set up with Logan Paul. Drew McIntyre has a program set up with CM Punk. And Chad Gable has a program set up with Uncle Howdy. The only one that's a favorite that doesn't have a program ready for him is Jey Uso. And I think that's where the briefcase can come in to make sure that he gets a major program somewhere down the line soon. So I am going to go with Jey Uso, but I don't think that this is as clear cut. Also, he is literally the poster child of this PLE. He's on the poster.
I mean, you could even say that if he does win, the merchandising opportunities to make a yeet case is insane.
Yeah.
Like, let's just call it as it is, right? And at the same time, he is crescendoing into this level of aura that is, like you called it, WrestleMania levels of aura. Like, the stuff that he's doing with his entrances is amazing. Like, there's no other wrestler. It's kind of weird because they saw Sammy do his entrance from the crowd, and they're like, you know what? We're going to take that and put it on Jey. And it's worked so well. I like the idea of Jey Uso winning, but I do see the White Six interfering. Either, you know, Chad's on top of the ladder, the lights go out, and then Chad's gone completely.
Just disappear. It's just his boots left in the ring.
Just completely gone. And what I mean, the reason why I bring up can the Wyatt Six control the briefcase is this notion of early on the seeds of the Wyatt Six is that it's about family. And every single wrestler on the roster has sacrificed a lot for their dreams, and some have sacrificed family time. And what would be the great thing to say, look at this prize that you've been chasing, the Money in the Bank, this contract, and we have it. I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think there's an element there that the White Six could kind of de-shroud this idea of this Money in the Bank, that you sacrifice everything for this object that doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day. I like the idea of Jey Uso, and I think the reason why Jey Uso has an opportunity to win merchandising, but it would be that one thing that he could always have, like an ace up his sleeve, if a Bloodline member has a championship. There's always that opportunity to him to immediately insert him back into the Bloodline storyline because he needs it. But at the same time, I think if they do that swerve, and we talked about on this Wrestling School podcast that was released on Tuesday. If you want to get it early, sign up for our Patreon. But when you hear this on Friday, I said that Jey Uso, if he has an opportunity to be in a program with the Wyatt Six, they could explore the notion of why Jey Uso has become this one-level character. And I said that hides behind the word yeet. So that's an opportunity they can do that. And he can still be the Money in the Bank briefcase holder while going through this trials and tribulation with the Wyatt Six.
All right, folks. We'll wrap it up there.
It's going to be a good show. I wish there was more matches.
Let's not get into this. I got to go. Because we will literally talk about this for an hour. We took a 10-minute watch along and we turned it into a 40-minute conversation about whether or not there should be more matches. Check it out. Patreon.com/SantiZap. Sancho, where are you going to be watching Money in the Bank?
You could watch my watch along at twitch.tv/Sancho West. We vibe out. We have a good time. And then I post my reactions on Sancho West Wrestling on TikTok or on my Instagram at Sancho West. Thank you so much to the people that do come by. And hey, I love this Money in the Bank. I think this is going to be one of the most memorable Money in the Banks because of these outside forces. Would it be wild if everybody interfered? Logan, CM Punk, and White Six? That might be a little bit overproduced and overmuch, but I think it'd be a wild ride.
You can check me out over on twitch.tv or here on this YouTube channel. I'll be live streaming as well. But folks, Thank you so much. Enjoy Money in the Bank. Take care. Wonderful people.